Hey, welcome back to another video. Today we've got some goodies from PrimeWeld, and we got their Tig 325X along with their Maxcool water cooler, and we got some CK torches. We got an air-cooled setup with nylon wrap, and then I also already opened it. CK 20 torch water-cooled setup, because I'm going to be switching back and forth between air-cooled and water cooler depending on what I'm welding. And we also got the Harbor Freight welding cart. We're going to be modifying that to accept the water cooler in the welder, because currently the water cooler will not fit on the lower shelf. So got some simple modifications to make that work. And yeah, it's probably the cheapest cart you can buy. It's okay-ish, I guess, but I wasn't trying to spend a lot of money on the cart, so went with the Harbor Freight one. Pretty easy to mod, and I'll show you how to get that modified to get your new welding setup for cheap. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbox everything and show you guys what's included, how well everything's packaged, because everything's pretty packed really nice in the crate from PrimeWeld. So let's get into it. All right, so we got everything unboxed now. We got the welder, the water cooler. We got the flow meter. We got a TIG consumable kit. The stick of tungsten, finger switch, stinger. You got a 220 to 110 adapter. You got the foot pedal, ground clamp, hose to go from your argon to the welding machine. And that's everything that comes with the welder and the water cooler. Oh, and we got this adapter to go from the water cooler that plugs straight into the back of the welder. So when the welder's on, this will come on with it as well. And it has its own switch if you're not running it. But yeah, so now we got to get the Harbor Freight cart set up. And basically what I'm going to do to raise this up is I got some angle iron. I'm just going to butt it up against the bottom of these nutserts on the front and the back side. And that's going to level this tray when it's set on top of that. And it's going to raise it up high enough so we can get the water cooler underneath. And we got to keep in mind this bar right here. It's going to end up landing, I believe, right above here or something. It lands somewhere between these two, so that the cord, the plug, and the argon doesn't interfere. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the angle iron cut up and then get ready to tack it in. All right, so we got the welder hooked up, just kind of on the ground till we get the welding cart modified. But yeah, welder is all hooked up to the argon. Let's fire this thing up. So yeah, got that set up. One nice thing about this, it's fan on demand, so the fan won't turn on until it needs to cool down. So this is what I got going on for raising the second level. Got some angle iron already cut and cleaned up, and I'm just gonna weld this in. And I decided just to weld it instead of bolting it because it's already kind of flimsy to begin with. So I figured I'd just weld it, make it a little bit stronger. And with this leveled out, just the bottom of these bolt holes will make this this top level with the ground. And I prefer that over the tilt that most welding carts have. I like the welder just to sit level. So yeah, and then once that's raised up, the lower level will be enough room for the water cooler to fit. So let's go ahead and get this thing welded up. Got the ferric cup on here. So yeah. All right, so I just finished welding these new supports in. The new PrimeWeld was sick. The arc starts were crisp. Super happy with how that thing did on DC. Can't wait to try it on AC and try the pulse settings as well. But got these all welded in. Now I'm gonna have to unbolt this, lay it on top, mark out the holes that I need to drill, and then the last thing that needs to happen once I get that bolted on is modify this guy, because I use the 330, I believe it's 330 cubic feet bottles, and this is not going to accept the large bottle diameter. I think I have right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This one normally gets bolted up here, but so yeah, bottle's not gonna fit in that, so I'm gonna have to modify these to accept the bottle. Not sure what I'm gonna do with this one. I might, because when I move this up, this one's gonna be up here, and then this one should be here, but they're pretty close to each other. So what I might do is weld another box tube across this lower support, drill some holes in it, and then bolt this into this location. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get back into modifying some stuff. All right, so we got the cart back together now. Went ahead last night and painted everything after welding. And then I also even went as far as countersinking the hardware, just so that nothing's sticking up, like how the Vulcan cart is from factory, I suppose. But then I did not modify the second bottle holder, I suppose is what it's called, because it does not match the technically the lower one. I'm guessing because this should be, or designed to be at the top of the bottle where it's narrower if you're using a smaller bottle. So, and if I did that, the cut I'd have to do would interfere with the chain slots. So what I did instead, welded a piece of angle iron here just as a stopper for the bottle, which is at the same distance as this plate, and Also to note, if you're using these large bottles that are, I believe, 9-inch diameter, the distance from the back of this hoop to this lip is just about 9 inches. So you need all of that space for these large bottles to fit. So I almost messed up and had it a little bit too far back, but I realized that when I measured it. So basically put this angle iron in line with the hoop, and then I slid this forward and bolted it down. So, but now for the lower chain, we've got nuts welded on the bottom. So I'm gonna thread in some, I believe it's M6 eyelets here, and then just have a chain that hooks to that. So I'll have 2 chains still, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead, get everything set up on the cart, and probably play with some more welding with the machine. Alright, we got it all set up now. We got both air-cooled torch and water-cooled torch set up. I got the water-cooled filled with distilled water. Got that hooked up into the back of the welder. We trimmed the water line so there wasn't super excess. We also trimmed the gas line because they come like 2 feet long. And yeah, it's just kind of not necessary, so shorten that stuff up. Also had to change the bolts in the side of the case from these bulky ones to some cap screws because there wasn't enough room to fit between these rails. Because when the top plate was bolted in, I one of these like pulled in, both of these guys pulled in tight as possible. Not really sure why I did that. Probably just so that this fitment looked nice between the angle iron and the top plate. Let's see what else. We got the water cooler lines, or the plug secured, plugged in. As you can see, it's kind of, the bottle's tilting back some just because it's so heavy, and this cart probably isn't designed for this much weight, but it's as far forward as possible and barely fits on the cart. You can see how I already bent it just sitting it on top of that lip. But single chain seems to be pretty sturdy, but I'm gonna add a second one just because rather be safe than sorry. So yeah, Harbor Freight cart turned out pretty decent. Still seems flimsy for what it is, but this will do. Pretty similar feeling to the other cart I have for my Everlast welder. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, get set up with some probably some stainless and some aluminum. Maybe play with the pulse settings and on the positioner. And yeah, just film some welding of the new PrimeWeld 325. So yeah. All right, so we got the welder in its final setup position. Everything's hooked up, everything's on. I'm running air-cooled torch right now. Don't really need a water cooler for what I'm about to do. I swapped over to a dual flow regulator because I'm going to be doing some weld testing on some stainless tube, 3-inch, and some aluminum tube. I think this is 2 3/4. This is just some scrap I had laying around. Everything's prepped up, cleaned, wiped off. I'm going to do these weld tests on this MK Products T260 Cobra turn. This is set up for purging. Got the argon in here. Got the line coming through there. Got the purge plugs from Tig Aesthetics. So we're going to go ahead and start with doing the stainless tubing. We're going to see just how this thing does. We're going to go ahead and get this set up. So welding. And go ahead. Let's go 70. We're going to do this with pulse. So let's go over here. We got 2 settings for pulse. One's high, one's low. What high is gonna do is your range starts at 10 hertz, which I believe is 10 pulses per second, and it goes pretty high, 200. But most of my pulsing is around 1 or less. Sometimes get up to like 1.4. But I did notice one thing about this machine. Whoops, it's base current. On low setting, it starts at 0.5, and it starts going up by points. And then once you hit 1, it just goes whole numbers from there, which I'm a little bummed about that because I like to dial mine in a lot at like 1.1 to 1.4, but that's just what I'm gonna have to work with, unfortunately. But I can, you know, just kind of feel it out, and if it feels like it's a little too fast, too slow, I'll just give it a little bit extra, or take some out. Post flow, just max that sucker out. I like to do that for stainless. Actually, since we're on the turntable, I'll come down a little bit. If I was not welding on a turntable, I would for sure like more post flow. DC, had it on AC earlier when I was trying to weld the cart together. Forgot to switch it, but saw that real quick. Pulse duty, where's this at? 50% is what I'm gonna want. And then, yeah, I think that's all I want to adjust. So let's go ahead and start welding these tubes up. Alright, so here we have our 2 test runs. This was the first weld that I did. This was roughly 1.1 pulses per second, which is what I like to do on thin wall stainless with filler rod. If I'm not using filler, I'll do 1.4. Came out pretty good. And trying to show you the purge. That came out flawless. Came out really good. Really happy with that. This was the second one. I did turn up the pulses. I didn't really like it that much, and I was only dipping filler every other pulse. Still a good weld. Purge, also perfect. So now that we did couple stainless welds, we're going to move over to some 6061 tube. And we're gonna go ahead and switch the machine over to AC. Let's see, what do we want for amps? Let's go to 100 for now. And then I'm gonna turn pulse off. Don't normally pulse on aluminum. Frequency, let's go to let's do 250. And then balance, let's do 25. Normally I'm around 25-30 for the balance, so let's go ahead and see what this does. All right, so just finished the aluminum test runs, and this thing welded super good. Very nice arc start, even on AC. The arc was very stable, very consistent etching on the aluminum. Very, very happy with how this machine is welding, and I cannot wait to do more. Very good, consistent penetration on the inside. Running the higher frequency definitely helps with that. But yeah, this is pretty sweet. Pretty happy with this machine. Yeah, outside of the pulses per second display, limiting post flow 15 seconds, which is not that big of a deal. Sometimes I like more. Besides those two things, this thing is pretty sweet. Very comparable to a lot of the other name brand welders on the market. If you thought this video was helpful and you're considering buying one of these machines from PrimeWeld, I do have a code you could use. It's called, the code is MISCO25. If you do decide to use it, that would be great. It really helps me out in the channel, trying to grow the channel with more videos and content for you guys. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you got any questions, drop them down below, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can.